God. Oh my God. Oh my God. What a crazy respect for you right now. Do you feel that shift in the air? That silence when your name gets mentioned now. Not laughter, not doubt, but shock. Because something happened to you that nobody can explain. You didn't just improve. You didn't just change. You became unrecognizable in the same body they thought they understood. And that's what's driving them insane. Not your words, not your explanation, your result. Because people are comfortable when they can predict you. But you broke prediction. You became the error in their calculations. The moment you stopped asking for approval, reality started reacting to you differently. They thought you needed time. They thought you would quit. They thought you would break under pressure like everyone else. But you didn't break. You mutated under pressure. And now look at them. Confused faces, delayed reactions, whispers that don't match their confidence anymore. Because they're trying to understand how the person they underestimated is now the person they can't ignore. That's not success. That's dominance in silence. And the craziest part? You didn't announce it. You didn't warn them. You didn't ask permission to become this version of yourself. You just disappeared into discipline. While they were talking, you were building. While they were laughing, you were sharpening. While they were doubting, you were evolving past the point of recognition. And now, the same people who treated you like nothing are acting like they always saw it coming. But deep down, they didn't. They couldn't. Because they were looking at your old version while you were already gone. Now you walk differently. Not louder, not forced, but certain. And certainty is terrifying to people who live on doubt. Because they can fake confidence. They can fake success, but they cannot fake what you became. So let them stare. Let them process. Let them sit in that uncomfortable truth that they misread you completely. Because the truth is simple. You were never behind. You were just becoming dangerous in silence. And now, that silence has a voice. And now that voice is no longer quiet. It echoes everywhere you go. Not because you're trying to be heard, but because you can't be ignored anymore. That's the difference. When you were small in their eyes, you had to. And now listen carefully, because this is where it gets even more intense. You're not just respected now. You're studied. People don't just react to you anymore. They analyze you. Every move you make becomes a question in someone else's mind. Why did they do that? How did they change like that? What are they planning next? And the funniest part? You're not even explaining anything. You're not giving them answers. You're not slowing down your evolution just to make them comfortable. You just keep moving. That's what they don't understand. You stopped performing for approval and started building in silence like approval was irrelevant. And when someone does that, they become unpredictable. And when someone becomes unpredictable, they become powerful in a way people can't control. That's why the energy around you feels different now. That's why conversations shift when you enter. That's why people suddenly remember your value only after they see results. Because your presence now carries evidence. Evidence that you didn't stop when it was hard. Evidence that you didn't fold when it was lonely. Evidence that you didn't disappear when nobody clapped for you. And now that evidence is loud. Louder than opinions. Louder than doubts. Louder than every voice that ever tried to reduce you. But here's the real truth behind all of this. You didn't become powerful because they changed how they see you. You became powerful because you stopped needing them to see you at all. That's the switch. That's the transformation. That's the point where everything irreversible begins. And now, even your energy carries something different. Not desperation, not searching, not approval hunger, but certainty. And certainty is dangerous in a world built on hesitation, because people can negotiate with doubt. They can manipulate insecurity. They can influence confusion. But they cannot control someone who is already decided. And you already decided. You decided to keep going. You decided to outlast the noise. You decided to become the result instead of talking about it. So now the world adjusts to you, not the other way around. And that's why it feels like everyone is losing their minds. Because deep down, they know. They didn't witness a change. They witnessed an escape from limitation. And once someone escapes limitation, there is no going back to normal. And there is no hesitation in that anymore. No second thoughts, no turning back, no asking if it's possible. Because you already proved the most dangerous thing a person can prove. You keep going, even when nothing guarantees you will win. And that alone separates you from the crowd. Now listen. This is the point where pressure no longer breaks you, it builds you. Where silence is no longer loneliness, it becomes strategy. Where doubt is no longer an obstacle, it becomes background noise you stopped reacting to. You've reached a stage where everything around you loses power, unless you allow it to matter. And you don't. That's why everything feels different now. That's why your presence carries weight without effort. That's why people hesitate before they speak about you. Because deep down, they sense it. You're no longer operating at the level they last understood you. You moved beyond their reference point. And when someone moves beyond reference points, they become unpredictable in the eyes of others. And unpredictability creates fear, admiration, confusion, respect, all at once. But here's what they don't see clearly yet. You're not trying to be ahead of anyone. You're just no longer willing to be behind yourself. That's the real shift. You stopped negotiating with your own potential. You stopped delaying your discipline. You stopped waiting for the right time to become serious. And now every action you take carries intention. Every step is forward, even when it's slow, even when it's quiet, even when nobody claps. Because you understand something most people never reach. Momentum built in silence lasts longer than attention built in noise. And now that momentum is visible, not loud, not flashy, but undeniable. And that's why reactions around you are so extreme. Because people are witnessing consistency that didn't break under pressure. They're witnessing growth that didn't need approval. They're witnessing a version of you that was shaped without permission from anyone. And now, that version is standing fully formed. So forward it is, not because everything is perfect, but because you refused to stop when it wasn't. Not because it was easy, but because you decided quitting was no longer an option. And that decision, that's what turned everything around. So keep going, not to prove them wrong, but because the version of you you're becoming demands it.